Lockhart Perspective. North Korea would bolster its defenses against the United States and consider restarting all temporarily suspended activities, the state media KCNA reported on Thursday, an apparent reference to a self-imposed moratorium on testing its nuclear weapons and long-range missiles. Tension has been rising over a recent series of North Korean missile tests. A U.S. push for the fresh sanctions was followed by heated reaction from Pyongyang, rising the specter of a return to the period of so-called, quote, fiery and fury threats of the 2017 era. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un convened a meeting with the powerful Politburo of the ruling Workers' Party on Wednesday to discuss, quote, important policy issues, including countermeasures over hostile U.S. policy, the official KCNA news agency said. The Politburo ordered the reconsideration of the trust-building measures and prompt examination of the issue of restarting all temporarily suspended activities, while calling for immediately bolstering more powerful physical means, according to KCNA. The decisions appears to be a step beyond Kim's previous remarks at the end of 2019 that he would no longer be bound by a moratorium on testing nuclear warheads and long-range intercontinental ballistic missiles, or CBMS, after the United States did not respond to calls for concessions to reopen negotiations. Washington's hostility and threats had reached a danger line, the report said, citing joint U.S.-South Korea military exercises, the deployment of cutting-edge U.S. strategic weapons in the region, and the implementation of independent and UN sanctions. Quote, we should make more thorough preparation for long-term confrontation with the United States imperialists. This was a quote from Politburo in its conclusion. North Korea's warning came hours before the United Nations Security Council was due to convene a closed-door meeting on Thursday to discuss the recent missile test at the request of the United States and several other countries. The United States Department and the White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment. President Joe Biden made no mention of North Korea during the nearly 2.5 hours conference on Wednesday, held to mark his first year in office. South Korea's defense ministry said that it's monitoring the North's winter drills while maintaining readiness posture, calling for the recent missile tests as serious threats. The Unification Ministry, handed inter-Korean ties, warned of further escalation, saying the peninsula should not go back to the confrontational past and dialogue and diplomacy are the only way forward. Quote, we should brace for more saber-rattling designed to create warlike atmosphere and possibly more provocation testing, said Jin Lee, a fellow at the Washington-based Wilson Center, adding that Kim will use every opportunity to justify further weapons testing. The North Korea could possibly test long-range missiles or other powerful weapons in the time for the 80th to 110th anniversaries of the birthdays of Kim's late father and grandfather in February as well as April, both major holidays in the country, said Yang-Moo Jin, a professor at the University of North Korean Studies in Seoul. They said, quote, it's possible that the situation could go back to vicious cycles of provocation and sanctions that we saw in 2017, closed quote. After test firing a ballistic missile capable of striking the United States mainland in 2017, North Korea launched a flurry of diplomatic and not tested its ICBMs or nuclear weapons since. It began testing a range of short-range ballistic missiles after the denuclearization talks stalled and slipped back into a standoff following a failed summit in 2019. For Headlines with a Voice, This has been the Lockhart News Brief.
The Lockhart Perspective.